Hey there team, Joe Knight here from the Resilience Lab. First off, a quick shout out to my business partner Nate, who makes me do all these videos, which he knows I really don't like doing very much. But it's all about increasing my resilience, right? To being in front of the camera. So, we've had a few questions from our clients lately, and they're all to do with acclimatization and focused around why we're so determined that our clients are very committed to their training at least 2 to 3 weeks post attending their course. Now, acclimatization isn't anything new. It's been around a very long time, or the principle of it has been around a very long time, through many organisations knowing that it's best practice for acclimatizing their employees to a new environment for at least a couple of weeks. I was exposed to this first in the military when we were posted to especially a hotter environment, where we were operating in a hotter environment. And the mechanisms behind this acclimatization to hot environments are pretty simple. It's to do with your body increasing circulation to the skin, obviously to cool the surface temperature down a lot more. It's to do with regulating fluid balance more efficiently, which is a bit of a complicated principle. I'm not going to get into that now. It's to do with lowering our core body temperature and a few other mechanisms. It is fairly simple, and it takes around 2 weeks. In regards to acclimatizing to the training that we do at the Resilience Lab, it falls in 2 categories, short-term and long-term. The short term is to do with high CO2 events, and the long term is to do with hypoxic events. So the short term CO2 events, what happens within our body is our heart rate drops dramatically, we get selective vasoconstriction, and our spleen, which is an organ in our upper left quadrant, which is very packed with red blood cells, contracts and ejects more red blood cells into circulation. And all this is to do with a principle called the diving reflex, which has been studied since around the 1950s, and it's very well known. Also, with high CO2 events comes cerebral vasodilation and many other mechanisms for increased performance, which I won't get into at the moment. Now, these symptoms of high CO2 events occur within a couple of minutes in a very healthy individual who has been exposed to training before, up to around 10 minutes for individuals who haven't been exposed to training before and their nervous system state isn't as healthy. So they might be suffering from general fatigue because of night shift, or just burning the candle at both ends, so to speak. Now, these symptoms of being exposed to high CO2 events can become more efficient, and they can come to act quicker, and they can become more powerful. And this is obviously to do with how much you expose your body to the triggers of this vagal nerve innervation, which is this high CO2 event. So the more you do it, the better everything's going to get with your bodily adaptations. So that's one of the reasons why we really want our students to be very focused and determined with their training for at least 2 to 3 weeks post their course, because of this very acute innovation that we can make more powerful and act on a lot quicker. Now, again, without geeking on about all this too much, which is hard for me because I'm a bit of a geek, and also without getting too deep into the biomechanics of everything, I wanted to talk about hypoxic events. Now, the bodily adaptations to hypoxic environments, again, are very well known. They're known within all sorts of organisations which train athletes, because they know by exposing athletes to high altitude training or hypoxic training that their bodily adaptations will make their submaximal more maximal. They'll become more efficient at utilising oxygen, minimal amounts of oxygen. And this is because when our body gets exposed to low oxygen environments, or we do training that exposes our body to low oxygen events, our kidneys produce a hormone called erythropoietin, or EPO for short, and this hormone signals our long bones to produce more red blood cells. Therefore, our body's ability to carry more oxygen is increased and deliver this oxygen to the tissues where it's needed. This process takes around 15 days from a red blood cell to be born and then to reach maturity. And red blood cells last around 120 days before their death. So we know for a fact that you need to be very focused on your training in regards to these hypoxic events for a minimum of 15 days. Now, anecdotally, because we've run this training for almost 20 years now, we know that the students have an extreme adaptation process where they'll get the biggest jumps in their performance and they'll have their biggest adaptations within 2 to 3 weeks post-course. And it's to do with the adaptations to high CO2 events and environments and adaptations to low oxygen events and environments. I hope that answers your question without getting too geeky on it. But if you want any more information on the acclimatisation process that we utilise within the Resilience Lab, please give us a shout out. Also, you'll find a heap of information on our YouTube channel and on our website. Thanks heaps for tuning in, team, and I look forward to seeing you on a course soon.